Carolina's final exhibition matchup is Sunday afternoon, and it's important that we see RJ Davis back in the lineup.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, October 25th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Really big thanks to you for making us your first listen or watch of the day. Shout out to the everydayers joining us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome in. Let's get started. This episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh, baby, I love it when we get to this point of the season because this weekend we not only have a football game on Saturday, we're going to get to getting ready for that in segments 2 and 3. Carolina back on the field for the first time since the unfortunate passing of Tylee Craft. But also, there's a Carolina basketball game this weekend, an exhibition about a week ahead of the regular season tipping off. So that's where we're going to get started today with prepping you for the basketball game. But I want to go ahead and remind you right now that we will have a live postcast Saturday after the football game, Sunday after the exhibition game. Buckle up. Let's have some fun with both. All right, Carolina on Sunday afternoon in the Smith Center hosting Johnson C. Smith, 2 p.m. Eastern. This will be on ACC Network Extra, streaming only, not going to be on your regular TV. So make sure you know where to find that on an ESPN app or on your smart TV or whatever it is. Now, due respect to Johnson C. Smith, we're strictly worried about the Tar Heels here. This is all about what Carolina is doing as a tune-up. For example, I'm not concerned about multiple of the things we were watching for in the Memphis game, like Carolina's rebounding, all those offensive rebounds they gave up, or how Carolina performs in the paint against Johnson C. Smith. This is all about Carolina being able to work on stuff ahead of the regular season. That said, it's time for a Four Corners preview. Let's get after it. Number 1, will RJ Davis play? Let me remind us of the timeline of what happened. 2 Saturdays ago on October 12th, Carolina had their blue and white scrimmage following the Georgia Tech football game. In that game, early in the second half, RJ Davis driving into the lane, took a hit. I think it was from James Brown, if I remember correctly, fell, just kind of landed on that weird spot of your back. The exhibition at Memphis was just a couple days later on Tuesday. And so wisely, Carolina held RJ Davis out of that game. If he's not 100%, no point in playing him. I feel differently now. This game will be played 8 days from the tip of the regular season. This game is on Sunday. The next Monday is the first regular season game. I think it's important for Carolina to get RJ Davis out with his teammates ahead of the regular season. And I know that first game's against Elon, but right after that is Kansas that Friday. Like, what is that? 2 weeks from today, would it be? Yeah, it would be. 2 weeks from today is that game at Kansas. And so I think, yes, RJ Davis has had a ton of time with his teammates, but that's been in practice against his teammates outside of Memphis. That's the only game so far against another opponent, and he wasn't in it. So why I say it, I believe it's critical to get RJ Davis out there is in particular for his new teammates to acclimate to playing with him against another opponent. And honestly, even for his returning teammates to acclimate to playing with RJ Davis with a new set of teammates without Armando Bacot, right? Like all of this is different. And so you don't want the first time you're playing somebody else with RJ Davis to be when it counts. And so I would, even if RJ is not 100%, if he's like 95%, I think it's still worth it, assuming that him playing is not going to worsen anything. If it's like at the point where you would play him in a regular season game, I think you play him for this one for the continuity that it would bring ahead of the regular season. I'd love to know if you agree or disagree with me on that. Let me know in the comments. Number 2 in our Four Corners preview. I'm interested to see what kind of follow-ups we get from Seth Trimble, from Elliot Cadeau, and from Jalen Washington. The reason I specify those three guys is because that trio, that three Musketeers, had a great performance in the Memphis exhibition game. Let's remember Seth Trimble had his 33 points. Elliot Cadeau had a double-double with 13 assists without RJ Davis on the floor. Let me remind you that again. Jalen Washington, very efficient game. If I remember, 6 of 7 from the floor, did some really nice things. So I'm watching to see what happens now. Can they stack these? And I know it's against Johnson C. Smith, and so you expect to be able to stack it. But what's critical is, can you do it against any opponent all the time? With Seth Trimble, we've now seen it in back-to-back games. Leading scorer in the blue-white scrimmage, obviously leading scorer in the Memphis game. Can he do that again, even with RJ Davis on the court? Even if he's not the leading scorer, can he be in the double digits, getting up to about 15 or so? Like, it's that kind of thing I'm looking for with Seth Trimble. Does he stay active, even if RJ is back in? Does he keep attacking? Because I want to see that. With Elliot, does he keep distributing the same way he was doing? Does he keep shooting confidently? With J-Wash, does that efficiency stay up? That's one of the key things we've been watching for. As his volume and minutes go up, can his efficiency stay up? So I'm looking for the follow-up from those three young men. Number 3 in our Four Corners preview, one of the things we're watching for, and I kind of alluded to this at the outset, is this is a game where you as a coaching staff, you really just want to try some things. And so that said, for all of us to remember, that's probably going to lead to some less than savory moments in this game. We're like, why did that guy throw that pass? Why is that personnel group in together? Oh my, that was ugly. I would expect we're going to see Carolina trying some things here, trying different personnel groups that you might not be accustomed to. But also, they're going to try some things that I think you and I are wanting to see. For example, since Seth Trimble has been doing so well, there's been so much chatter about, oh man, how does Hubert Davis keep him on the bench to start the game? Is it legitimate that Carolina could start Seth Trimble at the 3? And so something I'd like to see is a personnel grouping that includes Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, and Seth Trimble. And I know that we've seen pockets of that last season, but I'd like to see a healthy dose of it, a big fat helping of that trio with whomever's at the 4 and the 5. I'd even like to see a couple different guys at the 4 and 5 to see what best 4 and 5 fit with that threesome. I'd be really interested to see that. But ultimately, how often and how long can these guys play together? I don't think it's going to matter size-wise against Johnson C. Smith, but it does give you some frame of reference for how the three of them would look together. Finally, number 4 in our Four Corners preview, I want to see this as an opportunity for a confidence-building moment for some of the newcomers. You know, the common refrain after the Memphis exhibition was, the freshmen look like freshmen, Drake Powell less so than Ian Jackson. But for example, the freshmen, can they start to get in a rhythm? This is a game for them to start building some confidence against a very overmatched opponent. Can they build that confidence that translates then into Elon and then at Kansas? What about the transfers as well? Can Cade Tyson kind of settle in, find his shooting touch a little bit, and really just be who he is and be what he needs to do? Get to the rim, get inside where he shoots a lot from inside. I'm going to keep reminding us, more 2-point attempts than 3-point attempts in his career. Can Van Allen Lubin start to really carve out a role? I'm looking for all of that. Can the newcomers start to really settle into who they are as Tar Heels? Think about, as an example, Jalen Withers last year. There were moments where it felt like he understood his role for the Tar Heels, but it took till, halfway into the season before it really felt like he understood that and was able to string a few more of those types of games together. How quickly can these guys settle into it? I think a confidence boost like they hopefully get on Sunday is going to lead to that. So there's the Four Corners preview for you ahead of the Johnson C. Smith exhibition game. Should be a blast. And then as a reminder, first real action is the Monday, like 8 days after that, November 4th, Carolina hosting Elon. Sunday afternoon, be ready, be locked in. We're going to go live after the game. All right. Let's turn our attention to the football game, because after a week off, Carolina takes back to the football field What are they going to look like on Saturday in Charlottesville? I'm going to give you my what to watch for, all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Prize Picks. Look, Prize Picks is the place that has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. All you got to do is go find a player, see the stat that's offered, and then you just pick more or less. And you do that on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So run your game all season long on Prize Picks. I really love how simple this concept is. It takes away from complicated like draft strategies and how do I best budget my money and put this all together. I just love the simplicity of here's a player, here's a stat, more or less. Where are you going with? All right. I also really appreciate that Prize Picks has an injury insurance policy. Nothing's worse than picking someone and then they go down the second play of the game. I'm petrified of that happening to me. Well, with Prize Picks, your lineup stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. I also like checking in on their weekly promos like Taco Tuesday, when Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% off to provide even more value. Great opportunity there. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege on the Prize Picks app to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We started off with our basketball Four Corners preview. Now we've got our football what to watch for. All right, let's get right into this. By the way, Brother Denoris was supposed to join me today. Unfortunately, had some last minute things that popped up that had to attend to, and so I've got his what to watch for stuff, and so I'll share it with us on his behalf. And actually, the first one he gave, I'm going to save for the third segment because it goes into a bigger conversation I want to have about how Carolina handles moving forward in the wake of Tylee Craft's passing. So number one, what to watch for. This one I actually inserted myself. And here it is. Can Carolina get another big momentum shifting play in a key moment, whether it's special teams or defense or something, but this time capitalize on it with a win? And what I mean by that is this. In back-to-back games, Carolina has had a pick six and then a punt return touchdown. And typically when you have plays like that, it doesn't mean you're going to win, but you would think you would win at least one of those 2 games because of that critical juncture shifting, paradigm shifting, game shifting play. But neither of those games was that the case. Unfortunately, neither Caleb Koss pick six against Pitt nor Elijah Huzzy's punt return touchdown against Georgia Tech. And that's kind of deflating because, again, when something like that happens, you're like, awesome, we're going to be set now and we just got to keep rolling. So what I want to see is, can Carolina get another play like that? But moreover, can they build on it and get this dub at Charlottesville? I think that's critically important. Watch for those game-changing plays and how Carolina uses them. What to watch for point number 2. This one's coming from me. As a reminder, Carolina had their first of 2 open weeks last Saturday. The other one's actually coming up 3 weeks from now. So it's this game next week at Florida State and then another open week. Kind of nice. But what I'm watching for is that kind of thing you're always honestly watching for after an off week, but all the more so right now because of the 4-game skid that Carolina's on. And that question is this: will the Tar Heels roll out any new wrinkles? Is there anything that they've been working on in these 2 weeks off that we're going to see? And that could take shape in a couple different ways. Number one, will there be any different scheme adjustments, whether it's finding ways to get Omarion Hampton even more involved? Are there ways to utilize, like one of the things I was critical of, I think after the Georgia Tech game, was I would like to see more play action, for example. Your best weapon is Omarion Hampton, so use him as a decoy sometimes, set up that play action, and let Chris Wells see if he can land some passes. But also, will there be any new wrinkles personnel-wise? Will we see any of the younger guys now start to get more reps, like a Jordan Shipp? Especially, remember, Bryson Nesbitt is not going to be in this game. And so, like, what do we see personnel-wise? What kind of wrinkles or shifts are there? So that's always something I'm watching for after an open week. But again, critically more so, because Carolina's got to find a way to win this football game. You just have to be able to do it. Number 3 in our what to watch for the football game. This one's coming straight from our guy, Denoris Cersei. Can the defense make more of an impact this game? A, stopping the run, and B, stop giving up explosive plays. Look, Carolina on defense. I didn't say anything about the defense in those wrinkles I was looking for because I knew I'd be mentioning this now. But man, I think it's so critical for the Tar Heels to be able to settle in the secondary, not allow these big explosive plays. But a big part of that, because it's all tied together, is the defensive line getting home, which also brings up within a sub point of this for me is thankfully for that rest, is Kamen Rucker going to be able to be like full participant, full go, being his typical disruptive self? And if so, that helps give the rest of the defensive line what they need to do because there's so much attention paid to Rucker, which also allows the back end of the defense to do what they need to do because the defensive line is able to do so. So it all just plays together. So we're watching for that. Can the defense make more of an impact? Like, yeah, that pick 6, but maybe can they get into the backfield? Can we get more sacks? All of that kind of stuff. And then number 4 in our what to watch for is this. This one's for me. This game is a key moment for everyone on this team. This is a look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I kind of moment. You're on a 4-game losing streak. You've had an open week, and now you have a chance to reset your season. There are things that are gone. This is not going to be a playoff team, which I think we would have said before the season. We did say before the season. This team is not going to make the ACC championship game. But this is a team that still has a lot to play for. Bowl eligibility. Closing the season the way they've not been able to close it the past couple years. And so while I say this is a key moment for everyone, the 4th point is this. Particularly Jacoby Criswell. What is his legacy of this year going to be after losing the starting job to Drake May a couple years ago, transferring out to Arkansas, and now coming back and through, unfortunate happenings to Max Johnson and then Connor Harrell just not really being able to do it. Here Criswell finds himself the guy, QB1. How can he take advantage of it the rest of the season? We've talked about how there's been a declining completion percentage. Can he get that up? Just even into the mid-60s. That I would take that for this game. Can he start to find that touch that we've been looking for? He's got the arm, but can he land some of these passes? And frankly, let's be honest, receivers have got to step up for him. Guys have to help out their quarterback. There have been quite a few moments this season when they have not. But I'm particularly watching Jacoby Criswell in this game. What is he able to do? And a big part of that, let's be honest, I mentioned the receivers, but is the offensive line taking care of this dude? Willie Lampkin, you might or might not be aware of this, despite him being undersized like Kamen Rucker on the other side of the ball, is getting all sorts of accolades for the tremendous season that he's having. But he needs the other 4 guys on that line with him to step up and be ready to go. And so that could even go back into the second point of what to watch for. Are there new wrinkles? And part of that is the offensive line able to do what they need to do to carve a path through Amarion Hampton and to give Jacoby Criswell all the time he needs. All right, so that's the what to watch for the football game. There's more football stuff to say. Critically, how do you pick up the pieces after Tylee Craft's unfortunate passing? How do you move forward? How do you honor him well? We'll talk about that. Plus, I'll make my game picks. I'll give you the weekend whip around. And then I want to share some devastating news in college basketball world that came out of Florida on Thursday. We'll get to all of that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can get into this season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So, you get a hunch in the middle of the game. Well, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view the live play-by-play and so much more right there on that same page where you've placed your bets. You're going to get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. How about some Wooden Award odds ahead of this upcoming season? We talked earlier about needing RJ Davis to be back in this lineup. Why? because he's the reigning ACC Player of the Year and a leading on odds, not favorite, but right behind the favorite for National Player of the Year. So in FanDuel's Wood and Ward odds, Hunter Dickinson from Kansas leads the way at plus 550. Right behind him are RJ Davis and Mark Sears of Alabama at plus 600 each. Next in the odds is Caleb Love of Arizona, obviously now, and Janai Broome from Auburn at plus 1,600. So a big old gap from Dickinson and RJ and Mark Sears all the way back to those guys. And then Cam Jones from Marquette rounds out the top 6 at plus 2,200. So if you want to get in on those Wood and Ward odds or anything else ahead of this college basketball season, go check it all out at FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sportsbook. It's been now just shy of 2 weeks since the unfortunate passing away of Tylee Craft. On one hand, praise God that his suffering is over and that he's in a home now where the weeping is no more. But on this side of heaven, we weep and we mourn with the Craft family and with the Carolina football family and everyone surrounding this event. And we do not look forward and we do not move on without Tylee in our hearts and minds in any way. But we do move on in life, but we bring him along with us. And I love that the Carolina receiving corps has committed to, as J.J. Jones did against Georgia Tech, wearing Tylee's number 13, a different player each week. If I remember correctly, it's Kobe Paysour going to do that tomorrow at Virginia. And I believe Virginia has done some special, I think they're actually going to wear 13 decal on their helmet or something for this game. Kudos to Virginia. I mean, it's just, I think back to all the kind things we heard that opposing teams did for the Carolina radio team this past year with Eric Montross not being there. It's like that kind of similar thing. But as we think about this team now coming back to the field, and again, what a blessing that Carolina didn't have to play last Saturday, had an extra week to process and think about this, and how do we love and honor and respect Tylee well while still moving on with our season. And now they have to do that. So I'm curious to see how that plays out on Saturday. How does Carolina keep their emotions in check? Are they able to keep their emotions in check? Because sometimes those can be good, but sometimes they can be negative because you push too hard. You try a little too hard, especially as you're settling into the game. And so Coach Brown's going to have to do a lot of work to bring the guys to like an even keel playing field ahead of the game and playing with Tylee in their hearts and in an emotional way that's still balanced enough to allow them to play and run plays in the way that they've been taught and prepared to do throughout these past 2 weeks. So I'm really curious to see how that goes. And again, it is a crystal clear reminder of how much football and all sport truthfully pales in comparison to human life. But also Tylee would want these guys to keep going and keep trucking and play in his honor and for his memory. And so they will. Will they get a win? I don't know. I'm going to pick them here in just in a second, but we'll see. And while Virginia is going to, as we said, honor Tylee, they're not just going to lay down and say, hey, Carolina, we're going to let you win this one because things are tough for you guys right now. No, they're going to come out and play a tough-nosed football game in the South's oldest rivalry, and Carolina's got to take it to them. It's time to end this losing streak. So that said, it's time to play for the respect of this team, the university, and the name on the back of your jersey. We often talk about playing for the team on the front, and Carolina is very much doing that. But this is also a moment where you have to look at yourself and say, who am I going to be as a football player? Who am I going to be as a teammate? Am I going to be accountable? Am I going to make plays? Am I going to give in because we now are under 500 on the season? We got a 4-game losing streak. Or could we use this moment to propel us on a run at the end of this season? Because again, This is a team that can absolutely win this football game. And this is a team that has other football games ahead of them that they can absolutely go out and win. But there's also this razor's edge with which they could also absolutely lose every one of those games. And so they've got to do all the little things to tip it in the right direction. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. Are they able to do all those things? So the details of the game: Carolina at Virginia. Cavs are 4-3 on the season and 2-2 in the ACC. This game is at noon, again, on the road at Virginia. Unfortunately, it's another game on the CW. So you're going to have to figure out how to watch that. I know, a lot of you can get it just on your rabbit ears. So you want to check, make sure you've got that. FanDuel has the line: Virginia -4.5. The over-under is 59.5. I am going to go with Carolina to win this game straight up, not just cover, actually win this game. I'm going to go 30-24 Tar Heels. So they win, but it does hit the under. I've got a total of 54, which is under that 59.5. Love to hear your spread. You going with the Tar Heels or not? Are you giving up? You giving in? Or do you think there's hope? Join me in the hope train, all ye whose glasses are half full, because that's how I roll in life. All right, let's get to our weekend whip around where, all the rest of the fall teams are having great seasons. Quickly, here's the records for everyone else. Field hockey, 12-0, 5-0 in the ACC, second ranked in the nation. Men's soccer, 8-2-4 overall, 3-2-1 in the ACC, ranked 11th in the nation. Women's soccer, 14-2 overall, 7-1 in ACC play, ranked 4th in the nation. Volleyball, 15-2 overall, 7-1 in ACC play, just jumped into that top 25, 25th in the nation. Both cross-country teams are ranked. They're off this weekend ahead of the ACC championships next weekend. But man, all over campus, all these teams are doing great. And they're saying, come on, man, come on, football, gather around us. We got you. All right, so let's get back to the action for this weekend. It is a massive weekend for the field hockey team. We've talked a lot this season about how Carolina and Northwestern are number 1 and number 2, and nobody else is really close to them. Well, the Tar Heels have a big-time chance to prove that this weekend. They're at home, thankfully, and you're going to want to get to these because tonight, Friday, 5 p.m., ACC Network Extra, if you can't make it, Virginia is coming to town. They're 3rd in the nation. Carolina, assuming they can survive that, turns around and on Sunday hosts Boston College at noon on ACC Network. They are 6th in the nation. So within a span, Friday to Sunday, Carolina, thankfully hosting the number 3 and number 6 teams in the nation. You knock those off, both of those, man, you feel really, really good about where you're at. Men's soccer is out on the West Coast this weekend at Stanford on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network Extra. That's their next to last game of the regular season. This upcoming Friday, they will host Boston College to wrap the regular season. Women's soccer is down in Tallahassee this weekend at number 17, FSU. They play them tonight, 7 Eastern on ACC Network Extra. This is the women's 4th ranked match in the last 6. And they also only have one more regular season match after this. That will be on Halloween this upcoming Thursday, which will also, by the way, be 5 ranked matches in a span of 7 because they are hosting number 1 Duke. You're going to want to make it out for that one. Dress as spooky as you can. Volleyball also playing Florida State this weekend. In fact, they're playing both Florida-based ACC schools. Today, Florida State comes to town. They're number 19 in the nation, 7 Eastern ACC Network Extra. So we've talked about things are going to get tougher now for the volleyball team, and this is a great start in that. And then on Sunday, volleyball hosts Miami, 1 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network Extra. And then just want to end the show on another somber note. There is, on Thursday, news came out talking about Florida teams from South Florida that their head basketball coach, Amir Abdur-Rahim, who was going to be in his 2nd year at South Florida after coming over from Kennesaw State, where he got them to their first ever NCAA tournament bid. This is a guy that is a rising coach in the profession, quickly turning things around, and unfortunately on Thursday passed away at the young age of 43 years old. In the press release from USF, they said, quote, Coach Abdur-Rahim was undergoing a medical procedure at a Tampa area hospital when he passed away due to complications that arose during the procedure. I've looked around. I've not been able to find what procedure he was undergoing. I'm guessing HIPAA stuff probably prohibits that if the family doesn't want to release it. But I read that as he was undergoing some kind of, I don't know if it was no procedure's routine. Let's be honest about that. But some kind of procedure. Things fell apart somehow while that was ongoing, and coach just passed away. Just devastating news. Leaves behind a wife and 3 children. Yeah, I just can't fathom, man. Again, same thing we just said about Tylee earlier. We rejoice in his homecoming to heaven. For those of you that believe in that, which I never want to force or push on you, but I will talk about it because it's my life and the faith that I have. But man, we just, on the earthly side of it, we mourn the loss of a great human being. Yes, phenomenal basketball coach, but more importantly, by every account that I've ever heard, because if you're not aware, I also am the host of Locked On College Basketball, our national college basketball show, and so have been tracking coaches' progression over the last couple of years with what he did at Kennesaw State and how quickly he had turned around in South Florida. And it's so, as great as that is, Amir Abdur-Rahim, the human, an even better person, loved, respected. And if you were on social media on Thursday, you saw just the outpouring of love for the person that he was, man. So make sure to celebrate that and be that person, That's what we're all striving to be, is someone that brings joy to other people's lives. There's so much hate and plenty of dissension in the world. We just don't need more of that. We need people who love well. So be that in the world, because we lost that from Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim. So you go be him in his honor. All right, we'll talk again tomorrow. After the football game, we'll have our live postcast. And as I said, on Sunday, after the basketball game, we will do the same. If you've not yet subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels on video and audio, I'd love for you to do that, especially as we get into basketball season here. This is a hot and heavy time, and you're not going to want to miss it. If you're on YouTube, make sure to also hit the bell notification so you get notified when we go live so that you don't miss a second of those live postcasts. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, I want to invite you to come join that. It's free to join. The link for it is in the show notes. If you'd like to go even deeper with the show, you can join the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, where you get direct access to hang out with me, chat one-on-one through texting. You get access to my stats and record books and data and charts and all of that for free as part of being a Locked On Tar Heels Insider. 2-week free trial, and then just $5 a month after that. All right, guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We're going to talk again tomorrow after the football game, but until then, peace.